One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing Playhouse on Park's production of Singin' in the Rain, with book by Betty Comden and Adolph Green, songs by Nacio, Herb Brown, and Arthur Freed, based on the classic MGM film, directed by Evan Hoffmann, music direction by Melanie Guerin, and choreographed by Robert Mintz, running through August 17th at the Playhouse at 244 Park Road in West Hartford, Connecticut. Be my lucky star by becoming a patron over on my Patreon page, where you can support my work here as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee. Patrons get early access to the latest episode of the podcast, as well as sneak previews of reviews that I post here. There is also currently early access to an interview with TheaterWorks Hartford's artistic director, Rob Ruggiero, about the theater's upcoming 40th season. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. Links to my Patreon and podcast pages are in the description. Singin' in the Rain is arguably the greatest movie musical of all time. It's one of those few musicals where if someone asks me about it, I can list and sing nearly every song in the show because each number is that memorable, with songs like Lucky Star, Make 'Em Laugh, Good Mornin', and of course the titular Singin' in the Rain. If you're unfamiliar with it, which I can understand, it's an older film, came out in 1952. It is a comic look at the transition from silent films to talkies in Hollywood and how four entertainers adjust to the new medium. Don Lockwood, played by Daniel Plimpton, and Lina Lamont, played by Carolyn Burke, have made numerous silent films together as a Hollywood power duo, if not necessarily an actual romantic couple. Don meets Kathy Seldon, played by Lindsay Gloriana Bohon, an aspiring actor who challenges Don's perception of his own talent and promptly falls in love with her. Along for the ride is the greatest third-wheel character ever written, Cosmo Brown, played by Robert Mintz, who is Don's best friend and provides much of the brains and humor to the story. When The Jazz Singer premieres, talkies become the new big thing, and the film studio headed by R.F. Simpson, played by Parker Joe, looks to get into the talkie game, but with mixed success, as Lina in particular, her speaking voice is grating and lacks the discipline to improve her voice skills or how to properly use the new sound equipment. It's then up to Don, Cosmo, and Kathy to come up with the solution. With a cast of only 8, director Evan Hoffmann uses an old but effective standby to make the show work with such a small cast. Hoffmann has the show open with a screening of Singin' in the Rain when the reel breaks down and the audience, full of avid fans who can recite the film word for word, decide to recreate the musical live for the rest of the audience. This can easily come off as derivative or hackneyed, but it works here. What's better is that Hoffmann never loses sight of the premise and makes continued references throughout the rest of the show that this is a cast of fans, grabbing props and costumes from offstage and behind the video screen to make the show work. The commitment to the idea by the cast helps make the whole thing believable, and also helps make the epic second act dance sequence Broadway Rhythm believable as a smaller piece. Speaking of dancing, wow. This is some of the best dancing I've seen done by a regional professional theater in my time as a critic here in Connecticut, with only Goodspeed Musicals' production of Summer Stock with Corbin Bleu matching it in recent years. Mintz, who is both choreographer and Cosmo, really heats up the stage with some fiery footwork, particularly for him and Plimpton to perform. There were some restrictions due to space that he had to work with, particularly with the aforementioned Broadway Rhythm number, plus the zany Make Them Laugh, but he knocks it out of the park with the choreography of Moses Supposes, Good Mornin', and Singin' in the Rain. Mintz is the highlight of the show in more ways than one, and his performance as Cosmo is seemingly effortless with this comic timing. Plimpton and Gloriana Bohon are also wonderful. Plimpton moves with a debonair grace, and Gloriana Bohon is delightful as the bright-eyed, fresh-off-the-bus ingenue. Carolyn Burke has the brassy arrogance of Lina, and her performance of What's Wrong With Me, which is a number added to the stage musical that wasn't in the film, is appropriately grating. But I wish her speaking voice was a little bit harsher. With the concept of the production being a restaging by an audience, Vilinda McGregor wisely uses her costume design to develop over the time of the show, as most of the actors start off in modern attire, but as they grow into their roles, they take on costumes that fit the characters. Director Hoffmann, along with scenic designer Forrest Entsminger and props and set dresser Sara Dorinbaum, also do a good job of making the stage feel like a makeshift production, with props seemingly there for set dressing becoming tools for the actors to elevate the sequences, especially the Singin in the Rain number. When a musical goes small and minimalist, there are going to be things that are lost. That's just inherent. The score is reduced, the ensemble is reduced, but when you work with the tools you have and use them well, a lot of what is missing you find doesn't have to be there to make it a great show. Most of the time, smaller theaters fail at this, and I frequently warn against smaller companies doing big shows because they don't have the ways and means to give the show its proper due. Yet, with this production of Singin' in the Rain, Playhouse on Park pulls it off, creating a brilliantly joyful show that really should not be missed. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Singin' in the Rain, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon and podcast pages, as well as my social media handles where you can follow me and support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the off-Broadway production of Angry Allen. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.